man. Phew. Henry, you want to lift? Just listen. Ready?
Yep.
Oh. Yeah. She's stuck. We'll mark the number 1 plug wire.
Spark plug.
How's she look?
There we go.
Number 2 has some corrosion on it. Here are all the plugs, 1 through 6. 2 and 6 have some corrosion on them, probably just from humidity coming in through an open valve exhaust or intake. We'll take a look with a borescope, see what we see. Number 2. There's the top of the piston, and that's just carbon there. And then you see silver spots where there's no carbon. There's a drip, probably from an open valve up above. This is number 2 where we had one of the rusty plugs. And then the sleeves, or the bores, let me move this. This one looks alright. See, there's a little surface rust maybe, but no big deal. And then the junction between the piston and the sleeve down here is fine. Yeah, no heavy corrosion. This is a 50-50 mix of ATF and diesel fuel. Number 1, Henry? Number 1 was toward the top of its stroke, wasn't it? Let's put some more in.
Some more in?
Yeah, well, we got plenty. Well, more the merrier. Finger tight, Henry.
As if my fingers weren't so greasy from when you were pouring it in earlier.
You can get it started with your fingers and then put the socket on it to spin it. That makes it a little easier. Right here. Plugs are back in. Now we let her marinate for, I don't know how long, till we have time to get back to this project. Engine still doesn't budge. We're going to take the valve cover off and tap on the valves and make sure they're all loose. Acorn nut. I'm surprised the squirrels didn't steal that.
Haha.
Oops.
Came right off.
Oh. That one's froze. Came down but didn't come back up. That one bounces. That one bounces. That one bounces. That one's froze. This is contributing to our problem. Didn't pop back up. Is that froze, Henry?
If it bounces, it's...
Right. Does it bounce?
Yeah,
Okay.
also bounces. No, it doesn't.
That one doesn't bounce?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Keep tapping on it then. Let the valve come down.
I don't
Are
know.
you sure? I think it's bouncing.
Okay.
That one's bouncy. So we got a couple of them that are froze up. So one's froze, and that is an exhaust valve. That makes sense, I guess. Froze. So that's on number 2 cylinder, and that is also an exhaust valve. That one's froze, and that's an exhaust valve for number 3 cylinder. I really screwed up. I tapped the valve down past their normal point of travel, trying to get them to pop back up, and now they're binding because they're probably on an unworn portion of the stem that's a little bit bigger. That was a goof on my part. Right, Henry?
Silly mistake.
The engine is stuck tight. And the solution that Henry and I put in it, the diesel fuel and ATF, that's a solution you let it sit for 6 months and then maybe something happens with wiggling it as much as you can every day. I was hoping to go a least invasive route and free up the engine, because that's step one. And it's not happening, and I'm not waiting 6 months, so it's time to go to more invasive methods. First, let's see what engine we're working with so I can verify part availability. Is that rating or is it just dirt? Ugh. I thought the number would be there. That's a casting number, it won't necessarily tell me the exact engine. I see black paint, that's one clue. Right there. I'm just not seeing it on the left or right side of the engine. There'd normally be a flat boss with the number stamped into it right below the bottom of the head. This truck came with two engines. It came with the Blue Diamond 269 and the Black Diamond 282. That's why I was talking about the color, because they were, from my understanding, painted blue and black at the factory. I don't know. It's a mystery maybe we'll solve later. As for right now, I want to get the oil drained out of this, and we'll go to the next step at freeing up the engine. Oh, it smells like varnished gasoline. It's been cranked. She's the color of a fine whiskey. Red wine? I don't know, I don't drink that stuff. Just gonna pry on it. Thank you. This is the first thing this engine's done for me. It's fought me all the way. Well, the good news, I guess, is what I can see of the cylinder liners is in good shape. But I can't see much yet. Cam lobes still look nice and pointy and unworn. A little surface rust on them from setting. And nothing really to note in the pan, except sludge. Here's what we're going to do. One by one, I'm going to disconnect the connecting rods and tap on the pistons with a hickory block to see if I can free them up. Nothing wrong with that bearing. Nope. Nothing wrong with that journal either. Alright, piston number 1. That was easy. She moved. Yeah. No problem at all. Piston number 2 is almost all the way down on its stroke. And this was one of the ones where we saw a little bit of corrosion on the plug. Now my suspicion is that one or more pistons rings are just stuck to the cylinder walls. There's just corrosion there because the bore scope showed the bores don't look that bad. Alright, this is one of the ones I'm suspicious of. stuck. Really stuck. Number 3, not stuck. Number 4, not stuck either. Number 5, not stuck. And drum roll please, number 6. Stuck. Let's try this. This is on the connecting rod bolts. I know that's not the best thing, but I'm going to stop short of hurting them. Yeah. I saw a little movement. Yeah, I definitely did. Put the cap back on. Tighten the cap to bring the piston back down and kind of get some wiggle in it. Loosen it. Coming back down pretty easy. Hopefully I can just work the rings loose that way. Now we'll take this back off. And see if she wiggles more freely. Yes. Ow. I'm just going to keep working her back and forth until she feels normal, which will take a while, but patience, patience. After a lot of messing around, I brought it back down to the bottom of its travel. That's actually lower than it started out. And now I'm going to run it up further and keep rocking it. Oh yeah. Looser every time. There. Now we're out of the old ring travel. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Victory! This is getting to be a habit, drinking coffee and looking at the old truck. I spent 4 or 5 hours yesterday afternoon trying to get piston number 6 freed up. I tried everything. I jacked on it from different angles. I tried to pull on it as best I could. It's locked tight. It's on the piston now. The truck's jacked up a little bit. In mechanics, I learned that it's important to have multiple ways to do something, so in case one way works, you can try other ways. And I kind of ran out of ways yesterday and got a little discouraged. There's always the option of pulling the head, and I called around yesterday evening there's two places where I found them available. The cheapest is $330 for a valve grind set, which is head gasket and all the other gaskets that I need, plus shipping. So I kind of wanted to do this truck without spending a lot of money and see what could be done using what I have here. So last night I was thinking about it, and I came up with two other methods to try and get the piston loose. First idea is to pull downwards on it using the connecting rod bolt holes. Bolts are on the other side. This method is really janky. I'm not going to put a ton of force on it, but we'll see if pulling helps. Okay, well that didn't work. The jack's back on it. We're going to jack it up a little bit. Method 2. Now I can jack on this without the truck raising. I'm not comfortable putting a whole lot more pressure on it, but we can put a little on it and see what happens. This is my last ditch effort. That's it. Crap. Crap, crap, crap. This is a heater hose. This truck actually had a heater. They were optional. I think that any video that hopes to be good at all needs to have a story. And a story has a beginning, a middle, and an ending. It has a resolution. Oh, that's older than I am. This story as it stood didn't have an ending. We're 11/16. Why do pipe fittings gotta be weird sizes? After I exhausted my options with that stuck piston, I went in and talked to Hillary. And we went over a bunch of options to end this video. Getting stuck on the fuel pump was not one of them. One option was to change out the wee juice in the cylinders. Everybody's got their favorite. In my opinion, one is just as good as another. I've read thousands of cases of stuck engines. And people did all kinds of things with about the same results. You're a pill. So that wasn't really an option for ending this video, saying I'm going to let it soak for 6 months. That's kind of crappy after investing a half an hour or whatever it is into watching a video. Oh, yeah, they're going to be, huh? There's the first broken fitting. I could also say I quit. Put the oil pan back on, park the truck. But that would be a waste too. How disappointing. I could also wax eloquent about how sometimes in life it's important to cut your losses, but I'm not interested in that. Oh, that's not gonna help much. Oh, that's a quality job. Oh. I don't know if this gun's got enough chutzpah to take off these manifold bolts. Then, of course, in the end, you kick yourself because you said, well, I could have done this to begin with instead of wasting all that time. You just never know. I need a vacation. One option I did not try is modifying a spark plug into a grease zerk, putting it in the cylinder, pumping it full of grease and putting pressure on it that way, but one of the valves is open and I can't turn the crankshaft enough to close it. I don't think it would have put as much pressure on as I did anyway. Grease puts a lot of pressure on, but I did too. Oh, you have a bottom on you. I didn't realize that. So given all those possible outcomes, quitting, trying different wee juice, pulling the head really seemed the only logical thing to do. Let's just go ahead and loosen up all these head bolts and try and stay in the proper order. Out to in both ways, long ways and crossways. Now if they're loose, I'll just zip them off. Uh-oh. Where'd they go? We want to keep this all together. No bent ones. Well, look at this. There we go. Here's what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the dastardly 6. Everything I've looked at in this engine, aside, from sitting, I don't think it has that many miles on it. The odometer says just under 20,000. There's not much of a ridge here at the top of the ring travel. Remember, number 2 was stuck and it's corroded at the top, but I think it's just at the top. See, I think that would clean up. All right, where the piston travels, it's not corroded. And the top of the piston ain't that bad once you get all the crud out of there. Here's number 6. It's near the top of its travel. It's got a lot of crud in it. Just my guess, but no amount of soaking would have fixed that. That wasn't going anywhere. It's all expanded here on the sleeve where it's rusted. Darn. Geez, I was assuming this engine had liners in it, or sleeves. I don't see it. That's the mark that the head gasket made. Unless the liner is tapered on the top and is down in there. I don't know without cleaning it up. I'm looking at reference materials. Let's take a look at the head. I had a suspicion, although I don't know, that maybe some rodents got up the exhaust pipe. There's a lot of crud on top of that exhaust valve. And that one's stuck open too. And corrosion, but I don't think it's anything that couldn't be cleaned up fairly easily. Here's the head gasket. Every single area between every cylinder has this. I don't know if that's from sitting or if it's blown. It's hard to tell. I think we've been here before. The situation reminds me of the Farmall MD. Remember? Oh, I think I'll just re-ring it. Clean it up. Didn't wind up being that. I don't know what to do. I could rebuild the engine. I know I can find parts, and there's no question about that. But it's going to cost me. And these trucks, they aren't like modern pickup trucks. They're slow. You're lucky if you get up to 55. They're noisy. They ride rough. They're kind of difficult to drive. There's no power steering. There's no air conditioning. There's no power seats. Well, I guess there was a radio and there's a heater. I don't know what to do with it. And I haven't spent any money on it yet. So now's the time to stop and think. Because once you start spending money, then you say, well, as long as I've gone this far. I guess I'm open to ideas. And I guess it's probably going to sit one project at a time. I've got to work on the 856 and get that done this winter, next spring, however long it takes me. Meanwhile, this, well, Henry and I will button it up so that it's good to sit for a while, and we'll pull it someplace out of the way. It's amazing what moisture can do to an engine. This engine didn't get rain in it, and the truck ran fine when it was used, but then it got parked. And what happens is, with changes in temperature and humidity, even though there's no rain entering the engine, it works its way in through open valves, and those two cylinders you saw with open exhaust valves. And then over many cycles, over many years, rust starts to form and it gets worse and worse. Just think of if you have a cold piece of metal in a warm, humid environment and it starts sweating. That's all that happens over and over again. So while the engine doesn't have that much wear on it, it's got a lot of rust. I don't know what to do. I guess the experience was worth it. I could have done something different this week. Well, I hope you have a good weekend. I'm sorry I don't have a more definitive answer. I'm open to inspiration. I'll see you next time.